These are the top 3 reasons why a man won't commit. We all know sex won't make a man stay, and while women control access to sex, men generally control access to commitment via marriage. We're staying away from the obvious ones such as infidelity or disrespect or even Alright, but in all seriousness, let's talk about the top 3 reasons a man will not commit to a woman. Let's get started with reason number 1, ego or pride. A woman who's full of pride or has a huge ego will never have room for a healthy relationship.
It's in the same way. As a single mom, I got this shit. I got it. I ain't calling her dad. You can. I'll die starving on the road before I call her dad.
Facts.
So I'm like, you know what?
Facts.
I'm all the
That's
way
the dumbest
up
shit
here.
ever.
Say it again.
That's the dumbest
A
shit.
relationship requires teamwork. The idea of partnership or compromise is completely foreign to a woman who's full of pride, which sooner or later will create conflict. And when conflict occurs, forget about them admitting they are wrong, their ego won't allow it. Which means there is no growth or necessary behavior changes for the relationship to be healthy. Women with unhealthy egos or pride will usually make statements such as, I don't need a man, or I need a man that can handle me, or most men can't handle me, or I intend to intimidate most men. I'm not changed for anybody. Nobody, no way. Change is necessary throughout life in order to be successful. Take me, for example. When I was 21, I was a shithead. And now that I'm 30, I'm not a shithead. To be determined. These women tend to act like they don't have feelings. These are all excuses to hide their dysfunctional behavior. Most of the time, pride and ego is just a front to cover up old wounds. But once again, you shouldn't be dating if you're not a whole person. It's not your responsibility to try and change someone or heal somebody. And I would urge you to, if you run into this personality when dating or if you're in a relationship, just to avoid it. Going on to reason number 2, no values or lack of shared values. When you look at what we have,
You have your whole phase, but then you have your consequences at the end. You might not get wifed, you might not get married. I just want to say that, ladies, if you got some good pussy, you ain't got to worry about none of that shit. Okay?
accomplish in life, it is a result of our value system. Everyone's free to choose how we live our lives. However, a woman without good values will always be a liability.
Absolutely appalled at the group date that occurred yesterday. There's naked guys, doing or playing dodgeball together. It's so humiliating and degrading, and I don't see how that really translates into finding a husband, like who's willing to strip down butt naked and play dodgeball. It seems very silly and very immature.
The best way to spot these kind of women is just to ask them simple questions such as, what are your values? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you want in a relationship? If a woman can't answer these questions easily or gives you vague answers or tries to deflect and turn their question around on you, this should be a giant red flag for you. Values provide direction and meaning for our lives. So if you don't have values, you don't have direction. Women without values end up chasing this fantasy ideal of happiness. I'll be happy when I'm in a relationship, when I'm married, when I have kids, etc., etc. This is not to say having a family shouldn't be in your values, but having a family to make you happy and doing things to make your family happy are two very different things. The truth is, sooner or later, they will become unhappy. And when they do, they'll end up projecting blame onto their partners. Then they end up breaking up and going on a journey of self-discovery because they never took the time to develop their values, go on a trip to Bali, eat, pray, love, whatever kind of jazz does.
Okay, so here's the deal. You have screwed up my life, but what I really want to know is why couldn't you go off and find yourself in our marriage?
Quitting! I took vows till death, and I take them seriously. I believe this is just a phase for you, and I am willing to wait it out.
You are always waiting, Stephen. Waiting for me to come home, to want to have kids, to make you some great dinner. I don't know why we can't just accept that we don't want to live in unhappiness anymore.
Okay. Just save yourself all that time, money, and heartache, and don't ever date a woman without developed values. If you needed more proof, almost 50% of marriages end in divorce, and 80% of them are initiated by women. Think about it for a second. If you're a woman and you proposed to a man and you knew there was a 50% chance that you were getting divorced, and on top of that, an 80% chance that your husband would initiate it, would you even propose? There is a rhetoric that men are afraid of commitment, when in fact, most women initiate the end of committed marriages.
Damn!
Men are holding out because they realize the importance of finding a woman with good and shared values. And last but not least, number 3, her communication skills. There's a misconception that women are better communicators than men. I've seen men who suck at communication just as much as I've seen women who suck at communication. But more commonly in my experience, I've seen women who choose to use passive or indirect communication.
When Amber won't talk to me, she really helps me learn that I did something wrong. And because she won't tell me what I did that was wrong, deep down I just assume that I'm simply wrong for who I am at the core of my being.
When I give JP the cold shoulder, it's encouragement for him to be a better person, because I don't really like who he is.
This is a sign of unhealthy communication. It's not your partner's job to read your mind or pry things out of you like a dentist. Women who can't communicate her thoughts and emotions effectively will create chaos and instability within the relationship. The sad truth is, you can't build a functioning future with someone who can't communicate what they are feeling in a healthy way. I mean, you could have a dysfunctional one.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
However, if they choose not to grow themselves, you'll find yourself being dragged down with them. Here's a pro tip. My grandma always used to say, closed mouths don't get fed. So if you want something out of a relationship, it's your responsibility to communicate that need. A lot of you might be triggered by this list, but of course these same qualities could easily be found in a man. And of course, for my ladies out there, if you find a man with these same traits, treat him with the same level of prejudice. So in closing, I would like to encourage both men and women to reflect on these qualities that are necessary for a committed relationship. Now that you have this information, you might ask, what can you do about it? You have the power to change and create a lasting relationship. Self-reflect, grow, change, seek out a mentor,